going around the left, okay, right here. And then the left coming around the right, right there. And then when that left grounds, the right coming around the left on the finish. And so we're going to look at, this is Alex Rose, so he's thrown 71 meters. He's number 12 all time, if I remember correctly. He's a world finalist, a two-time world finalist, and he's an Olympic finalist, and he's the first Pacific Islander to ever make the Olympic finals. So this is, I would say what I wanted to show you guys, a couple things here, is that when we're thinking about the drill that we were doing, anybody who was throwing in my circle where we were doing the pause drill, this position here, okay, we want to focus on having that long right leg. If we see, where's Connor at? Okay, Connor, come a little closer, because this is where I was talking about with your sweep leg and being balanced on this left. Okay, notice if I was telling anybody, Liam was somebody too, I was talking about with Liam, with your left foot, making sure your left foot continues to open. Trying to think, I think Layla, where's Layla at? I was telling you with how your left opened, but then it would almost keep opening. Look at, in the discus and in the shot, the big goal here, and we're going to look at Krauser, so you're going to be able to see that, is that Alex's left foot opens, okay, opens to right here, and then as he cuts that right to the middle, he just comes right off of that left foot. So his left foot and his left knee are never past the middle of the sector. Can you guys see that? Okay, and he's just down with that right, and in the discus, that long left having his high point is right up there, okay, which enables him to stay with more weight on that right. And you notice he's pretty balanced, okay, that left's gone past him, and when his left foot comes down, look at how deep the discus is when he's catching that. Okay, so there's a couple things that if we can think about throwing far, you need technique, strength, speed, and mobility. Okay? If you think about Alex, he's 33 years old, he's got 2 kids, but he's extraordinarily strong. He's got really good speed. He's got really good technique, and you can see from how deep he's catching the discus, he's got pretty good mobility here. Okay, so when we're doing mobility in your training, when you guys are doing your lifts, think about where all that stuff plays into improving everything. So we'll play this in full speed, and then we'll just watch this again. And this was close to his practice PR, which is right around like 67 meters, which is close to 220. It might even be 220. Okay. So we go right here. Right goes around that left. He's got his hip right there. Right comes down. When the right comes down, he's got the high point right here. And then the one big thing I want you to pay attention to outside of his catch is how long he's sitting into that left side. Okay, see how his right hip, he's still basically on the ground. Okay, he's still grounded. So when we're doing those non-reverse throws, that's where this pays off. Nolan, you were picking up that right foot pretty hard on the finish, and if you see how this rotates, and then see how low his right foot stays the whole way through. So it's like letting that right foot stay down. I'm going to see if I can actually record this. I might be able to screen record this. I'll go back a little, Jason. So you can see how that right comes down, gets the high point right here. When the left grounds, everything's deep, and then that right side rotates forward. And it pretty much gets right to where his left foot was. Everything's really forward. The only complaint I have with this is that he does drift a little bit into his left, which is why he throws this a little cross body. Okay, so before we go into Val or Matt Denny, does anybody have any questions on Alex? Anybody? Loveland. Loveland, look at his left arm there. It's like nice and long. Discus is back. Okay. Actually, we'll look at Chay. See if I can make this, there we go. Okay, so this is Christian Chay. This was, what, 72 something? Now, we see like right here, this is where we can see he's still grounded, okay? And he's pushing this right side wide. Okay, where's Lizzie? Think about like just like this is where you could be more patient. Push around that left, get around that left, okay? And then that enables you to get to a pretty good position here. Now, I will say, Chay tends to have a little bit of a unique entry, but after this position, he's got, notice with the toe up here, I think with Matt and I know with you, Nolan, a little, I was talking about keeping that right foot up on the sweep. Okay, keep that right foot up. And then the right foot comes down. Now, one interesting thing with Chay is that he holds his head, if you can see there, he holds his head to that left sector. And when he's holding his head, and notice how balanced he is here, that's when he's getting his high point. Okay, so you can sort of see that right there. I would say, too, he does hold his high point pretty high there as well. And then that right foot directly in the middle. It's a little off with that arrow. And that left foot comes down. And his chest is back towards the back of the circle. And then this is where, look at where his left foot stays right here. Okay, so if we go, that's his left foot. His right foot rotates forward, passes left, straight into that reverse. Okay. I would say I think Alex's technique is a little bit more repeatable for a normal person than Chay's. Does anybody have any questions about Christian Chay though? Yo, what do you see, Amherst? What do you see? I don't know your name. Yeah, what do you think? Because I was watching you throw and you have pretty good movement, so I want to know like what.
I struggle with my left out so I'm watching how they turn to the left and they're getting around really nice.
Okay. You said your name's Gavin?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think this is earlier this year, if I remember correctly. Now, I would say Val's throw from this weekend on Saturday, was that Saturday? Yeah. I think her 71-meter throw on Saturday might be the best technical throw in the discus ever, at least from my first glance. So I would argue that if you're going to have a technical model, we should be using Val as your technical model. I think she's got pretty, there's some quirks she has, but I think for most people, you are able to do what she does, male or female. You can make all the excuses you want, but I'm not going to listen to most of them. So the only thing I will say actually with Val is she enters more like Christian Chay does, and I would prefer her to enter maybe a little more like Robert Harding. But Gavin, you can sort of see here, she opens that left on this throw and then continues to open this. Now, if you guys notice where her hip is here, okay, this weekend, her hip was more like here, like not that much, but over closer to her left foot. So I would argue that even just from this throw here, her left hip to this past weekend, she made a good technical correction where she had more weight on top of the left foot, which enabled her to have that good long right leg sweep. And so when we're doing the pause drill on the ankle, okay, think about this position. Think about, we want you to pause with that long right leg, and then when you pause there, we want you to get off that left pretty quickly, okay? And I think with Val, with her improvement over the season where her hip got more balanced on that left foot, her left, when she grounds now this past weekend in the middle, her left foot is actually moving quicker past there. Now, Val tends to hit her high point like a little more mid-sector, like right there. You can almost see she has a little bit of weight past that right knee. I feel like right here is where she tends to hit her high point. But I think that little bit of a shift or a fall back is where you can see her left foot is a little bit later here on this throw than it was this past weekend when she went 71.45. Again, you know, she can squat, I don't know, 450, 500 pounds. She can clean close to 300 pounds. I've seen her do what it was like snatches at 200 pounds. So she's got to have really, really good strength, really good mobility to hold these positions. Look at how mobile her shoulder is and to keep that moving. And you can see how her speed is just in this full throw. Okay, so I was privileged enough that I'm standing next to her and her coach during the comp this weekend. She has 2 Olympic titles. She is arguably the greatest female discus thrower ever. You know, after this year, she probably will be. And every throw, she's listening to her coach give her a cue. Every throw, she's saying, I did this, but I feel like I could have done this. What do you think? And they're going back and forth. Every throw, she's asking what to do. And this is a 70-meter throw in a stadium where she beat, you know, Jaime threw, oh no, that was last year. That was last year where she beat Jaime at the same meet. Well, she did beat Jaime this year. I think Jaime might have thrown like 66 here. But she's throwing 70-plus meters and still fixing her technique. She's still improving throughout the season. She's still trying to get stronger, okay? She's still trying to improve her explosiveness. So these are things I want to bring up later this week around if you guys want to be as good as you say you want to be, you've got to take that type of accountability and that type of ownership. Because it's sort of crazy. Somebody's got to tell Jaime to, Cállate. So I really like watching Val throw those positions.
Throws coaches, how do you peak your throwers at the perfect time? How do you get them to throw as far as possible during championship season? That might be at the state championship level. That might be at the NCAA collegiate level. These are all factors that a lot of throws coaches are struggling with and dealing with. And it comes back to understanding the biomechanics of throwing. It comes back to understanding how to execute technique and how to approach that competition setting with the highest mental degree that you can have. And we're going to provide this all for you guys at the 2025 Throws Coaches Clinic. And we're going to have Dr. Christoph Kipp, Darrell Hill, Diamond League champ, 2016 Olympian, Sam Weeks, who's coached All-Americans and state champs here in Pennsylvania, myself included. We're going to be giving you guys a bunch of presentations, hands-on applied coaching as well, and you're going to be able to take this stuff away to help you become a better coach. This year's Coaches Clinic is November 21st and 22nd here in Fleetwood, Pennsylvania. Sign up down below to get that early bird discount, 20% off. It ends October 31st. Peace.
So the one thing that Alex, like last year before the Olympics, when the big thing that we were working with him was that as he was coming out of the back of the circle, so going into qualifying, he likes to have a little quicker wind because he feels this tension all in his upper back. And then as he sort of opens, he wants to open and be on balance. He always says, like, be on balance here. And I think that when you are cueing where the left hand goes, okay, here, your right leg follows. And so feeling this under control and feeling this sort of like all open together and then pick up enables you to shift here and to be on balance to then lead to that point. If I tend to bring in my left arm, I usually, if I do this, usually what happens is I will fall into the circle like this, and then I'm knee sweeping. So I don't have as much momentum I don't have as much angular momentum to come and enter the center of the circle. So, and this is where with Alex, I would make the argument that, like, right, he goes, the right comes down, boom, and it's a long right with a long left. And it's like when that happens, lengthening as much as possible. And you want to have, so going off of that with the left arm that enables you to sort of keep more weight on the right as the left is moving to the front. So there's two things there. I would think, I'd have to watch, but I think this holding helps, and Chay does a good job of like seeing the sector, and that's like a little bit of a cheat code too. It's a little weird, like some people struggle with that. But listen, I don't know if you know who Mac Wilkins is, but he's a top 5 American of all time. He's an Olympic champion. Okay, he's one of the greatest discus throwers in the history of the sport. There's two things that I asked him about, and one of them was this position with the left and the high point and the discus. Okay, so this was at Prefontaine, at the Diamond League Prefontaine this year, July 4th. And I asked him about the high point, and this is where I would argue with you. You're James, right? Yes. Okay, so with you, James, I would say if this is long, get a high point. And the reason being is Christoph Kipp, I'm throwing some names at you, but there's this guy, Christoph Kipp, he does a lot of biomechanics of the throws. And he's essentially like, the momentum you will get from a high point can add, like, it is clear as day. If Sam Mattis had a high point, he would have broken the American record this year. He's like, it says, there's the science doesn't lie. And that will help if you think, put this up, get here to lengthen and lengthen here. And where I'm going with Mac is the one big thing to relate to this position with that left arm is Mac related the orbit, the high point to that. Because, and where I'm going with this link to Christoph is that when I asked Mac about the orbit, he was like, because he didn't have it, he didn't throw with it. He was like, if I would have thrown with orbit, with a high point, I would have thrown 2 meters further. And this is a dude, again, he's an Olympic champ. He's one of the best ever. He was a former world record holder. He's like, if I would have had a high point, I would have thrown 2 meters further. So that left arm and the high point are sort of linked together in the middle to sort of feel that stretch, and then that's going to help the left come down as well. Hey, Connor?
So usually, like, when I would focus on training at the high point, I would have a tendency to really lock his arm.
Yeah.
At what point would you say you end up losing distance, like, with the angle of, like, your upper body?
Okay, so I would have, I'm going to try and see if I can get, give me like 30 seconds here, because I think to answer your question, okay, I would make a couple arguments of, so this is Denny, right? Let's look at throwing, and maybe this, everybody's gonna fall asleep when I say this shit, but except for you, Connor. Look at throwing as the biggest issue I have with throwers is that you'll make a change, you'll take 100 throws, and it doesn't work for you. I'm throwing this out the window. I don't want to do it. It's screwed with my throw. Sam right now has NACAX in 2 weeks, and then he's got to go to Worlds. And I said, listen, so we had this long talk about his technique and his change. I said, take the technical change through the NACAC meet, because no matter what, I still think you'll throw far enough that you'll medal at NACAX. Then we can adapt after in our Worlds prep if we need to. And where I'm going with this is that there's two things, okay? One, how long did you take the change of getting a high point? How many throws? Was it 1,000? Was it 5,000? Or was it 50? And then the second thing is being prepared that when you make a change, something else is going to get off. And you've got to think ahead and be like, okay, when I try to check an orbit here, I might screw with my left, or I might come off my left later. And you have to have a checklist and know what's going to happen. So then when you know, okay, this is what occurs when I make this change out of the back, these things might happen. So this is what Sam and I did. We sit down, we look at it, we go, okay, if he waits a little bit more to pick up, we might see he might fall in. We might see that he might land with his left a little bit late. We might see these things. But we've just got to be aware of it. So being aware that your left might drop. Now, where I want to come back to Denny is, I'll say, in this case, Denny gets a high point, but where's his left arm? So what's bad? Maybe you need your left arm to be down to have a high point. So that's where the next argument that I would roll with would be, we have to have technical models. Okay, so we have, Denny is a technical model, 100%. Okay, Chay, Alekna. I would put Val might be a better technical version of Matt. Matt, if he sees this, will be offended by that, but maybe I'll get into a debate with him. But I would say that Val's movement is most replicable by everybody in here. Now, if you have a tendency and you get a high point and you drop the left, then the next thing's got to be like, is there someone who does this? Okay, Denny does it. Alekna's dad does it. Alekna does not do it. Mikolos holds his left here. Virgilius would tuck his left. So then we can look at that and then say, okay, the next step has to be, if this left drops, I need to make sure these other things are in alignment for me to be able to hold that. So my answer to you, I know this is a very long-winded answer, is 1, how many throws did you take before you quit on it? 2, did you have a flow in line of what could happen? 3, did you look at Denny? And then 4, you better go back to trying to have a high point, because I can tell you right now, if Mac Wilkins and if Christoph Kipp are telling me Mac's the guy in the field, Christoph's the one doing the research, and he's looking at all of the data and he's going, you get a high point, you throw farther, period. No questions asked. So get a high point. And like, honestly, that's the thing with Sam. Sam missed the American record. Well, there's 2 American records. He missed the one that is sort of the American record, which is observed by the World Athletics by like 6 centimeters. I guarantee you, if he had a high point, he would have broke the American record. You know, so I know that's what we're working on after this year, is we're going to try and get him to actually have a freaking high point. And it might ruin his throw, but by April we'll go back to what we were doing. So, yeah. Yes. Yes. So this is where you set him up on that one. Yes, Denny. Okay, so this is a great question, because I think in the past I have been so, like, there's one way to throw and I got to get you to throw this way. I think there's three to four models that you fall into. Denny's a fall model, and so is Chase Jackson. Chase falls. Denny falls. But they hold their left here. They get a high point. Chase gets a high point, and Chase sits with her left shoulder so that even though she's falling, when her left grounds, she's still over the right. So you could be a faller, someone who tends to fall, and you can still throw well, and you can still have good technique. Now, my argument would be if you're under 9th or 10th grade, we should try to get rid of all of your falling. I think there's a point where it's like, okay, this is just your tendency. Your tendency to fall happens, and we should just roll with it. You even know what falling is, or did Weeks just tell you to ask me that? Yeah, okay, okay. Okay, so this is actually, Nolan, this is where you can see how long he's down on his feet, and watch his right, just comes right through. Notice, no one throws like this. No one is doing this. So tell your coaches, the coach that throws you says don't jump. No one goes up, everybody goes out, okay? I haven't used this example yet, but like if I'm pushing into a door, like let's say my kids are trying to break into my room and I'm clowning them, I'm pushing the door back. I'm not gonna jump up to push the door back, I'm gonna push into the door, and it's the same thing that we've gotta do when we're throwing. If I'm throwing a punch, I'm not throwing a punch like this, I'm throwing a punch going forward. So there's no jumping, okay? Matt? Does anybody have any questions about Denny? This is what I'm talking about. Like, look at how, like, see how steep that is, and how much weight is over the right. And remember when we were taking those standing throws, I was telling everybody, this is the goal. This is the goal right here. The goal's not here. The goal's not here. The goal's not here, Nolan. The goal's right here. Okay? I'm just picking on you because you were doing that. Okay, so we got to get back into, my coach's eye. Because I do want to go over, we'll save Krauser for last. We'll look at Chase, this is her American record. World champ. She does the slide. So we go here. And this is where you'll be able to see her fall a little bit there, where she has that left hip. Similar how I was talking about with Val, where her hip was in a little bit. Now Val has corrected that, but the argument on this is that when Chase comes out of the back, yes, she might fall a little bit, but she sits, and if you notice that left side right here, almost what you were saying, James, her left arm here is pretty similar to like Alex's. Left foot's passing the right there. And then right here, she just keeps the shot back in line with that hip, right there. And then she comes forward. The shot's in the hand, here, here. It's crazy. There's still shot putters that are like top 15 in the world, and they don't realize that they just need to do this and they won't foul as much at nationals. It's absolutely crazy. Does anybody have any questions about Chase?
Do you think if she went out, fixed the falling, would go further?
Do I think if she fixed her fall, she would throw further? I think it would depend on her feeling, because that's like one of the parts around it as well, is like you make these changes, there might be a cascade of other problems, then after the cascade of problems there might be a feeling that you're missing, and then there might be another, and this is what drives me nuts, is that if everybody just makes a technical change and just buys into the technical change for 3 to 6 months, you'll be good, because here's the thing, is like there might be problems that arise from your technique changing. There might be something that happens when you change your technique. There might be a feeling that you miss for 2 to 3 weeks. Typically, a better athlete will have a better feeling quicker. But there might be a month where it feels like crap, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, it just takes off. So that's the debate here with Chase. I talked to Paul, her coach. Literally, we did a technical analysis of this. I posted it up on, or I reacted to it. I posted it on Throws U. And I went out to throws practice, and he called me because he saw it on Throws U. And he's like, yeah, he's British. He swears at me for like 15 seconds, says mean things to me, and then he's like, I really liked it. A lot of that stuff is what we're working on. We're trying to be patient with the left. We can't fix the fall too much right now, or that issue out of the back, because she's prepping to go to nationals, the Diamond League final, and the World Championships. And the problem would be if they make a change and it's too drastic and she misses the feeling. So, like, do I think, to answer your question, yes. Might it be 6 to 12 months later? Probably. You know, it's not an easy fix. But that's also what was part of her issue last year at the Olympics. You know, so that's not up to me to make that judgment, though. It's up to whoever the coach is, right? I can make commentary and be the peanut gallery, but it doesn't, you know. Yeah, I think the momentum on the step has hidden her inactive right side. I think that's the whole thing with that I would say to everybody is just being aware. Being aware of what can occur on a change and being committed to the change, and listening to your coach is also like, listen, dude, these are the best in the world. They're not making these calls themselves. Like, they're going over and they're going, what should I do? I honestly think there's a lot of high school kids that listen less to their coaches than Chase, than Dow. You know, that's me ranting a little. Okay, let's watch this. Anybody have any questions about Chase though? Yeah. Wait, so you don't have a coach? You can sign up for training at throwsuniversity.com. I think, I mean, you got to just try and learn what you can, and then look at what you think would be the most drastic thing. You want to change the most drastic thing further out from the season, and then minimize the drastic change the closer to the season. So that's like the ultimate way to set it up, and then be willing to commit and acknowledge, like, a change could take anywhere from 50 to 1,000 throws. So guess who makes more changes faster? The person who takes 200 throws a week or the person who takes 50 throws a week? So the person who takes more throws, who trains more frequently, who's more committed to being better, will make the change better, or quicker, sooner. So without a coach, the thing that you're fortunate with is, like, you do have a cell phone, you do have YouTube, you have Instagram, and you can do it. You can do it. But I would try and lay out, like, what your model would be and who you would want to emulate, and then sort of relay everything back to that. Like, if you looked at, like, I want to glide like Ulf Timmerman, you got to look at it and be like, what can I do that Ulf did, and what can I not do? You know, that's sort of the way I would think through that. Does anybody else have any questions on Chase? Yeah, Lizzie. Huh? Is the slide something that you would do? No, not yet, no. I take the slide as so the slide meaning like this. I think it's, maybe my stance on it is like, I don't think it's been around long enough to, like, really see. So one benefit of having a 13-year-old son is that I can make him do really weird technique stuff and see how long I can have him do it. So my son does a slide, and I'm not, like, totally sold on him actually needing the slide. And he did a really weird technique. He used to do a heel turn that I was like trying to have him do this other weird technique for a while. And he did that for like a year and a half. So like, I can get back to you on this in like a year. I would make the argument, Krauser's got, so then the other thing is this start, I think this start is a little bit more like the Fabbri start. I'm a little bit more, I think there might be a little more upside than the slide. And the reason being is I think people tend to be more active with their dominant side. But I don't think you need to do that yet. I would still go back to Krauser's done the slide. Krauser's started with the Fabbri start. And I would make the argument that Krauser also threw 23-40 basically with a normal start. So had he just continued to do his normal start, would he not have thrown 20 centimeters further? Like, I would make the argument he probably would have. So it's like this debate where it's like, it's nice that he's trying these things. I think it's great that he's trying them. But I think we could also make the argument that had he never tried them, he probably would be throwing maybe further. So I think that I also think it's important to push the technique limit. So, and he saw Fabbri has his, I don't know if you know who Fabbri is, the Italian guy, but Fabbri to me was the first one that truly, and probably Tom Walsh, truly started like this. And then Ryan started to do that more. So to answer your question, I don't really think so. I think you might actually benefit because you would go a little wider. But I don't know if that's the right answer though. Yeah. Okay, so let's do Ryan, and then we'll do Krauser, then we'll talk a little bit, and then we'll go outside and train again, okay? This is Fabbri right here, Lizzie. Okay, so you go step, right? Notice how level he is here. Balance, right? Balance, Connor, balance. And notice he's turned this right knee and quad is turned in, okay? And this knee is going out, left arm out. Left foot, he's still in double support, like he still hasn't picked up that right. Okay? What I mean by that is like he's still grounded on that right side. It's a lot of arrows on the screen. Okay, so now this is the position we were drilling at. Okay. Right leg. Long. Long, 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 long right leg. Okay. Left arm's level. And notice where his knee is here when he comes off his left. So he's got his left foot right there. See how his knee just sort of stays right here and he's off. Boom, off. And then that right comes right down. And then he's over top of that right. And notice where his right foot is in the circle. Okay? So that's where we want the right foot to be, right there. Okay? Left is going around the right. And I will say, I think this throw, he's later with his left than he is in some of his other throws. Obviously, this still is a great throw. Catching here. Gets the left side down. And notice, who was it in the first group? It might have been you, Lizzie, on your stand, that I told you to open your left foot. The reason being, okay, look at his left knee right here. See how his left knee's open? It's not how yours was back. It's more open. That enables your hips to then come through, like right there. And see how he's still grounded here. Shots coming out. And then that foot right there. We'll see that right foot come through. Okay. So it's long, right around the left, right comes down, left comes around the right. And notice how that left foot is moving. Boom, boom. And it catches, squares up long. Yeah, his left was definitely later on this throw than it was. Sam was in the middle. Actually, it was either Sam or Alex was taking their throw on the other side for qualifying as Krauser was throwing. So I'm watching up on the screen, and everybody was just going nuts when this happened. It's crazy. Okay, does anybody have any questions about Krauser? Liam?
I noticed that Krauser, when he comes out of the back, he's in the air for a lot shorter of a time than some of the fullbacks. Is that a matter of preference, or is that?
Okay, so that's a great question too, is that I believe from watching that Joe tends to have a higher sweep. And I think if your weight is falling in this way and you're not as balanced this way, you tend to have more like up and then down. And Krauser is more balanced and he has more momentum from the outside, so he's attacking from here to get down quickly. His whole goal is like Krauser looks slow, 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 and then it's just super quick. And I think that the wider you can get, the faster you get down. And the sooner I can get to the double support position, the power position at the front, the sooner that happens, the longer I can accelerate it at the finish. So I would say one is better than the other. Clearly you can still throw far with being a little bit more up. I think for most athletes, it's better to be more like Krauser. I think you can move a little bit more like that. I think if you can reflect back to Alex's video, Alex is sort of like a little bit of a combo of Ryan and Joe for a discus thrower. He's a little more up and then down. Now also in the discus ring, you can do that a little more because it's a bigger ring. I think Fabbri, I think you would tend to see he's a little bit more down. So I think for you, you got to be, now with you, your left foot stops early, so you would have a tendency to come up. But we've got to get your left foot to line up the way Krauser's would be here so that you can be down with it quicker. Because that's when you're going to see, that's when you'll feel better. You'll feel it more in the middle, you'll feel it more here, and then you'll work better on the finish. That's a good question though. Did you guys see this, like the technique aspect that we were talking about at the beginning in the videos though? Yeah. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? Yeah.
On the line of like Kovacs getting his right foot up, what are you guys think about Walsh? Because he's kind of crazy with his right foot.
Okay, so I think with Walsh, he pushes very, very aggressively. And everything is like a cyclical reaction, right? So there's one thing with Walsh is that he pushes really hard with his right. And then he gets like this real high point here and from his high right leg, but then to counterbalance, because he's high here, he puts his left arm low. A little bit. The weird thing is Denny's got a lower left foot. Tom has a very high left foot. But to make up for his very high left foot, he puts his left arm down. So, I sort of see someone like Walsh is like, that's just his style. I think there's obviously things, his finish, he's a great finish where he stays on the ground long. Yeah, I don't know. Now he's probably the first one that started with that stance, and that's why his right leg's so aggressive. Yeah, yeah. I think Fabbri rotates maybe a little better. I don't think Yeah, I was just trying to think to answer that. I think there's something to learn from all of them. Now, I would argue here, he stops his left foot more than normal. I almost want to look at the other one you have in there to compare it. See, this is where I will say this. One thing I don't like is that this position, when I see the knee and the torso past the foot, usually this is a hard position for athletes to hold. Like a dude who's a freak of nature can handle that. I would rather that not happen and be more like Krauser where you're stacked on top of the foot. With that being said, he's one of the best in the world. So like, take that with a grain of salt. He's a freaking animal and just murders the finish. Lizzie, notice his left knee when it grounds right there. His left knee's open. He just works that finish really long. Yeah, I would say, I think that's one thing that if you watch Tunde and Krauser, they tend to be much more upright and they stay that way the whole way through. And also, that's the whole point of lifting. Like, these guys are that strong so they can hold that posture and still have good tension at high speeds. Like, that stuff helps them control their trunk better. Yeah, I'd probably make that argument or support your argument of that. Anybody else have any questions?